media. On the 10th of August, remember, there was a story in the Chronicle reported that a newborn baby was found dead in a sewage pool in Mbizo 18, a suspected case of baby dumping. Now, the baby was found by children playing in that area. Not an isolated incident, this one, as many similar cases are being reported every now and again. Government is trying to combat this act, and vanenge vabatwa vanovharirwa vamwe vanotosvika pakusafungidzirwa kana kutomboonekwa kuti ndo vakaita mabasa akadai. So we want to talk about it. Timboonesana nekuzama kunzwisisa kuti zvirombonyatsombombofamba sei. Panoda kutsiurwa pachoka tobva tangotsiurana tichidaro tichienda. And ndinoziva the blame is always on the woman. Is that always the case? Kana kuti pane imwe angle kana kuti imwe nhau yatofanirwa kufukunyura ibude pachena. So that's the conversation that we want to have. Do remember, you can also join on 07191040. I remember some time back, I think when I was doing the 12 to 3, I hosted a certain lady, nonga mwana, akato mutora, akati, you know what, I'm going to take care of this child. And ndakatona mapics acho, mwana wacho atokura. Asi tozodzoka tobvunza kuti chii chingaita push a woman to do that. Atakura mudumbu 9 months, onzwa mwana achiita movements osaya. Achinzwa, a child growing inside them, and then decide to make that drastic move. So that's a conversation that we want to have in this particular hour. Coach Patience is here. Coach Vane Udzamo, Coach Vane Chiremera vachatibatsira nenhau yatinayo usiku wanhasi. Coach, good evening and thank you for joining us.
Good evening, Chera. Good evening, listeners. Thank you for having me, Chera.
Always good to have you on board. So, donzore chirongwa ndere kungoonesana kugadzirisa nyika tichimbotarisa kamuka hunhu aka kari kutirwadza nokuti for me, even if zvichinzi dzimweni dzengo macases atidzikirei kubvira last year, in it for me, one baby dumping is one too many. One baby being dumped is one too many. I don't even know where to start, Coach. Takachicha now yatinayo usiku uno. But maybe help us have an appreciation of this very issue that we have tonight.
Thank you so much, Chera. To say one, or to even say the cases are kudzikira, apparently, Chera, it's the other way around. Recently, we have the case here, Mwana Kapiswa Kudomboshawa. Then we have a case that I also followed this morning of one lady, Angato Dampa Mwana, in some pool waterfalls. So maybe because these things probably are no longer being reported as they are, or we are probably just missing them. But this is actually quite rampant of babies who are being dumped. And Kajinji, it's unfortunate, it is always blamed on the woman, but it takes two to tango. Why are we then blaming it on the woman only whilst there's a man that is involved for conception to take place? Is it not both the parties that are responsible for this mess that we find ourselves in? Because probably, especially my cases, there's a lot of incest that is going around, which there is leading kuti munhu azofunga kuti ati ndamitiswa nehanzvadzi ndamitiswa nasekuru or nababa. It becomes a shame on that person and they decide to dump this baby.
Yeah, iyoyo yakandiomera, Coach, kuti then zvaitika sokudaro. Is it ever justified then? Maybe easier for us to judge because we haven't walked a mile in that person's shoes. Because I'm thinking kuti hanzvadzi yangu igondibata ndigoita pamuviri. Maybe take us through that because the emotions there, Coach. So isusu tazoona zvaitika toti why azviita izvi zvinhu izvi? Why would somebody abatwe nemweya wakudaro ndibaba ihanzvadzi? Maybe tibatsire kumbodzika-dzika nenhau yamatanga iyi. One of the reasons that one would decide, what, mwana uyu ndomuchengetere, because it's a constant reminder there.
allow me to say this. I actually have a couple of cases on my hands of people that have had babies, a conception, either baba or brother or sekuru. I have real life cases that I know, but out of the couple that I actually know, it's a bit scary, and I don't know kuti chii chaitika kuti Sodom neGomorrah yatodzoka zvakare here. Both parties are actually saying it was by consent. We did this by consent.
Consent?
Yes.
Coach muruti kudi. Ndainetsana naStephen the other day nchiti hakuna zviro zvakadaro. Kutowirirana ine hanzvadzi nababa kuti zvona ndo zvatakuita izvi.
Yes.
All right. Pane mwana obva arasa here. Chichiri kuitika, maybe help us understand.
Ndo patiri kuzoita dambudziko rekuti tawirirana it's by consent taita mwana. But dambudziko riri kuzoitika real life issues now. Zvapo kuti mwana anofana kuchengetwa, or how does this child then relate? Ndisekuru baba here? Ndi baba here? Ndo pari kuzoita dambudziko now, because society as in the relatives then come in to say kuti what sort of a life is this? Muda kuti mwana wayo arelate sei? Votanga kudonzerana paye, and now because of the pressures that then come from family, this woman is probably left with no choice but probably to just go and dump the child or to even kill the child. I know of somebody, akatocheka mwana nebaka rechingwa. I had an encounter with the person, akati, the pressure was now mounting, and mounted too much. I just found myself, ndangotrabanga rechingwa ndiri mumba ndikatocheka mwana, and she served the prison sentence.
Yeah, samanditaura zvandityisa, coach.
Yeah, so ndosaka ndati it's becoming scary. I don't know to Sodom neGomorrah yatodzoka zvekutodaro here, because the couple of instances that I actually know personally of people that are doing this by consent, and then you try and think, there's a mushonga here, what is it? What has gone wrong? Nyika yakazara varume nevakadzi who you can just go and say, if you really want to have a child, or if it's just the pleasure, why can't you go and find pleasure elsewhere other than your brother or your baba mukuru or your sekuru?
Yeah.
So tinozosvika ipapo pekuti now veukama vari kuti how do you want this child to relate? Uyobva ati pressure yanga yazondiwandira, so I decided to go and dump the child. I decided to kill the child. I think the worst is the killing one, especially like the latest one, yekudomboshawa. This is a man aita a relationship outside his marriage, and then they agreed kuti vapise mwana. If you go on social media, it's there. This child was actually kutorosta mwana, and they agreed.
Yeah. Ndo vaya vatinoti ngavavharirwa makii oraswa kure because because I'm just thinking, coach, kuti pane vari kuenda from doctor to doctor, and I don't know. For me, it, yeah, and then, yeah.
Yeah, it's actually heart-rendering, mama. Like I'm saying, lately, the cases of consent, we've thrown away our values like that. What has happened to our values that we think we just live immorally and get away with it? But kazhinji ndo zvakati dambudziko now is on the woman. Mukadzi ndiye anozosanganidzana ne-more problems than the man. Vakumubvunza saka uda kudi. And you know some of them vanodzingwa pavanenge vachigara. Like the mother and the father will say, we can't have you living like this. Vodzinga vana vari two. The brother and the sister who have gotten engaged. But ane mwana ndiye ane dambudziko. And eventually what do? They just go and dump the child elsewhere.
Saka apa muruguti in this case,
living a life very separate from having been known kuti akaita zvinhu zvakadai or akatembenga aine mwana.
So in this case, is that ever justifiable? Child born out of incest, munobva decide ndimazvifungira zvenyu mazvibikira bota renyu rakadai.
Yes.
So the consequences that come with, you should be able to bear these consequences. Mamusingazive here kuti ndo zvichaitika vanhu vakazviziva, because makunanguna zvinhu zvisingatenderwi zvisingatarisi. saka
kuna masvinu chaiwo
tapa Sodom neGomorrah. 07191040 for join the conversation. Some of the reasons why she would decide to dump a baby. Coach speaks about a child being born out of incest. Vanhu kutowirirana baba nomwana, vanhu kutowirirana hanzvadzi nehanzvadzi kuti yo ndo zvatakuita izvi kubva pabarwa mwana. Asi when society then responds negatively, which they should, munhu obva ataiwa indoita sei ndongosiya ndangomurasa kana kutouraya, ndo zvatiri kuona. Toita sei senyika, toita sei nevanhu vakadai. So what are some of the other concerns or some of the reasons why then someone would decide then, Coach, to dump their baby?
We also have instances of munhu anenge apinda into an extramarital affair, and this woman atoita mwana apo, but this man cannot handle kuti ndiende ndinoudza mudzimai wangu kuti this is what I've done. And also now this woman, and take for instance, anogoda wangu ari your wife's friend that you've had a baby with, or your husband's friend that you've had a baby with, and you cannot even explain to anyone kuti mwana waye abva kupi, because people want to know, vanogona kunyara, but they want to know. And because now you can't face people kuti vakubvunze kuti ko mwana waye ambori wani, ko zvambofamba sei, you eventually just dump the child and probably even shift town and go and stay in another town or even another country.
Ko ukangonyepa hako right pane kubva wangomusiya, hazvizina here kuti ndonyepa.
Kune chinhu chinonzi conscience share. Kazhinji vamwe vanozosundwa to do that because conscience now is haunting. Wanyepa kuti it's dude so and so, but inside of you, you know, ndisekuru, ndidedi, ndimukoma.
Aiwa coach,
along the relations.
Apa tikutaura in the sense here incest. Paipa mamuchataura coach kuti pamwe it's your wife's friend. Ndonyepa hangu zvaitika, asi pakurasa here coach ndopande dambudziko napo.
Ndati kazhinji chera chinozokudya manje is conscience. Yes, wanyepa, but uri wega ma self moments ayaye, they start eating you up.
Others don't have a conscience. Coach, pane vanhu vasina conscience at all in life. You know?
I doubt.
It's just like common sense. It's just like common sense.
Functionality yacho ye common sense or functionality ye that mind yekuti boere inenge ingori percentage yakadhakwa but iripo. And kazhinji, do you know people who pretend like their conscience doesn't rule them when it really does? Panozosara rega pai or panenge achi try even kuda kufeeda or kuchengeta, especially at the point here breastfeeding. You're looking at this child and saying what?
We incest ndo angati netsei coach. Pamwe kana ndine conscience. Ndo angati netsei. Kana kuti mwana abarwa nenhau yokuti ndakabatwa chibaro. Iye ungati netsei. But anyway, coach, take us through the reasons because ndenge ndakumanya. But share your thoughts on 0719104004 as we are unpacking some of the reasons a woman would decide to dump their baby. Vamwe ndo vanobva vatomonyorora, umwe unomona akaiswa muplastic rehupfu riya wakangoraswa pamararo. Share zviri kufamba sei. So maybe coach, take us through some of the reasons, then maybe we interrogate each one as we go.
To be honest, Chera, I don't know, other than maybe being raped and maybe finding yourself in a certain predicament that you did not expect to find yourself in, I don't think there really is any reason. Let's take, for instance, incest. What are you doing? Why are you doing it? Unopa reason ekuti kudi. My feelings ango and overwhelm. And then I found myself bedding my brother or bedding my sekuru.
Avanotopenga coach.
You see.
Vanotoda evaluation yakasimba.
So at times really there is no reason. Then we have the issue yekuti munhu anenge arepwa. Imagine right now with all those mushika-shika instances that are happening. I actually came across, one time I was at one of the hospitals, I came across somebody, a victim of the mushika-shika, and she had been raped. So what then do? You just opt kuti maybe, and unfortunately, I'm sorry to say this, my systems within our country, they are so slow. Not just even my systems, but even Isusu as a people, we don't know our rights. We don't know where to go to. We don't know how fast we must report these things. By the time you decide, guys, this is what happened to me, maybe it's even too late.
pakaoma, coach.
So we then find ourselves in situations akadaro, and munhu anopedzisira angoti ndinofanira kuti mwana wayo ndichamuti baba wako vari kupi, or even try to explain to this child I was raped.
Right. It's a difficult one. Like I said, Kuti, I think so many times people get to judge, but ndoma solutions are toda kuti vatatsvaga. Pane mumwe akatoteerera ipapa who is a victim of rape or unwanted sexual acts. Ari kufunga kuti yo ndikobara mwana uyu, ndikomuyamwisa, ndikomutarisa, ndichiona the face of the perpetrator every day of my life.
And maybe, Chera, if it's a perpetrator, only one, it's okay. But if it's more than one, that in itself is so tormenting. I don't even know I conceived from who. So, and like I'm saying, it takes a lot of things. My emotions are so in disarray. You don't even know who to tell, who will believe you. And for instance, for people to even believe that you were in an instance you were raped, it takes a lot. Because now they start questioning you. Yes, I actually heard somebody a situation of the Chika instance, and then she ran to the nearest police station. Instead of even attending to that girl, but remember, this child already, I don't have to report about it, wato shaken. But Makutanga would judge at the way that she's dressed.
Yeah, Pagaoma 07191040. Share your thoughts. Join the conversation as we seek to find who's to blame. Maybe still unpacking here some of the reasons somebody would decide, you know what, I'm going to dump this baby. Patera now, pregnancy could have been a result of rape or unwanted sexual act. The child could have been born out of incest. Ko baba coach varamba azvirwere zvimwe zvatiri kuona kuti muridzi wenhumbu unenge waramba ende ndichiona kuti yo zvinhu zvandiomera zvino mwana uyu handimbofi ndakagona ndakamuchengeta, because when you then speak to some of these ladies behind the bars vanenge vabatwa vari kutoita get away with it, vanototaura zvino muridzi wenhumbu akaramba, and I knew I wasn't going to be able to take care of this child.
Sierra, I would want to say, I think we just end up making selfish decisions. Because Gajinji, Kanababa Ramba, Chivanu Chedu, we say, Mubana Put society. Why then carry this child to 9 months and decide to dump or to kill? Maybe Gatiba could dump her. You've carried the child for 9 months. Why dump the child and dump the child to die? Because for your own information, Harare Hospital inotoziva kuti pane sango rakaikomberedza vakasawana mwana 2 or 3 times a week. Aiwa, Mwari vane tsitsi. People go there and they just dump the baby. Yes.
Yeah.
People go there and dump babies. Vanotowana. So better to jump out in a space or even just to be attacked anything she's not going to attack, even cats. Jump in a space where somebody can just pick up this child and keep the child.
Dumping your coach in the first place.
Unfortunately, it's also beyond us. Not those dump away, and when we ask my reasons that are this guy said he was not responsible for it. And or whatever was being promised is turning out to be the opposite.
All right. Kind of reminds me of a song.
This guy saying no.
Kind of reminds me of a song Yakambo Rira back in the days. Yeah, memories are inonzi boko boko. The guy then says, you know what, waide usina kuita show, waide wakandipa ndakaendesa mwana kuna amai kumushow vakachengeta zvavo muzukuru wavo. But here's the thing, kuti kusvikira munhu azoteka that stance, pamwe anenge atogumirwa zveshuwa. Somebody even says here, I think hapana justification to dumping a baby. On the regards of delays in case a pregnancy was acquired through rape, the process which someone goes through in order to get the permission to abort the pregnancy is very difficult, and at times to the time of giving birth without getting permission. So we need to interrogate the system further, because I'm thinking kuti ndo pane dambudziko paitika dambudziko rakadai and the system has failed a woman. Coach, atisikukasika jaja ere without walking a mile in someone's shoes. Somebody says it's never justifiable. But maybe kuti pamuendesa ku orphanage ere andiziye maybe tibatsire ipo paya, coach, kuti system yafaila.
Look, it's probably not proper to say it's not justified. It's improper to say it's not justified. But there are some instances ekuti ukazonzwa yacho unotoona kuti munhu akaita Norway, helpless and hopeless. And what did they decide to do? They decided to just dump the baby. And I'm saying kuti I don't condone dumping, but dump in a space ekuti mwana at least anogona kuzobatsirika pane kuti anozodyiwa nembwa, or anosiya some a lot are doing in the pit latrines. Anongosiya kana mwana pit latrine or mugodi. So it really is not justified kuti munhu anganzi arasa mwana.
Aiwa, muri kutaura epit latrine pane yakambotenderera video ndakaita moyo unodambuka, coach, kuti
unodambuka. Yes.
vamunyorura moya. Mwariwe. Anyway, good evening, Mama G. Anzi, good evening, coach. And some of the reasons childhood trauma chaiyo inogona kupusha somebody to the edge or otoita sokudaro. Incest, as you said, postpartum depression, poverty, rape, shame, ekuti murichatichi, and now the gender-based violence that's slowly coming through, citing some of the reasons the woman would decide to dump their own child. Your thoughts quickly on this one?
Sorry,
your thoughts quickly on this one? The message that has come through?
Okay, like they're saying, my circumstances are beyond this person. And especially one issue that I think we also need to start attending to with urgency is postpartum depression.
True that.
Postpartum can do anything and everything. Before you know it, and they will just forsake this child and be gone.
But here's the thing, coach.
And this mother is gone because of postpartum depression.
But here's the thing, coach. I remember having a conversation with Dr. Makanza one time, and we were talking about this very issue. Because I always tema veganda redu vazhinji hatitendi kuti chiro chakadai chiriko. Yet it's so real. Maybe there's need for a bit of education around this. Kuti somebody anogona kutosangana dambudziko irori agotosiya mwana agotoenda kutokanganwa nenhau yepostpartum depression. Somebody comes through, says, Glendah, ndinorwadziwa nevanhu vanorasa kana kuraya vana. Ini ndakaita mwana 1 and she passed away when she was 3. Now ndadya zvese kuti zviitie hanzi, but zviri kuramba. It's about 10 years now. Ndinomboblame Mwari kuti why vachipa vanhu vanouraya isu tinovada chivashaya. Totombozvifunga izvi asi zvakare ndombofunga now adoption. That's somebody coming through with that one. Thank you so much for sharing your story right there.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing your story. I hope you'll find a solution to this. But what we're saying, Glendah, is the circumstances. You will realize there was no one to talk to. And like you said, postpartum depression, which is going through a lot of women as we speak. Personally, in my maternity home, but try to make sure we have a postpartum counselor that is always there, because women go through a lot when they deliver. I'm one victim. When I went to deliver my baby at one time, I was in the labor ward for 3 days. I stopped thinking. I stopped functioning. I didn't understand. I was in so much pain. So imagine such that they even blame it on the baby.
Mm-hmm.
So someone got right the guy, and but you don't know what they went through as they were delivering this child, which could even lead them to resent that baby.
Yeah.
So those zvinogona kuitika kuti munhu anozotanga kuresenta mwana waye otomusiya. And like I said, especially with postpartum, hamudampe. Well, you may find some that will dump, but mwana ari mumba. I remember talking to one and she said the crying of the baby used to annoy me. Because when I was in labor and could not deliver, I kept hearing other people's babies crying, and that sound still sticks to my mind. And when I hear this baby crying, it annoys me. So pamwe pacho zvinge zvitori zvinhu zviri kutoda kuti zvitotariswa chaizvo chaizvo zvisingazolida kuti munhu azopedzisira adhampa mwana.
True that.
And pamwe, like we said, kuti this lady saying it's not justified, but it could be justified because nobody then went a step further to attend to this person after either postpartum depression.
Yeah. So we also trying andisikuziva kuti coach tinoda kunongedza here kuti we're blaming because when we're pointing a finger amwesa akatarisa izvo saka toda kumboti handizivi kuti tinoibata takadii, but chokwadi ndechekuti madzimai ndo anowanzo kunzi ndo vari to blame when we hear kuti pane mwana awanikwa. What conversation are we supposed to be having with our children vechikomana ivava nokuti ndo pari kubva zvakare dambudziko irori dzimweni dzenguva.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Do you know one person said to me, "Adisiye kuti vana mai chi chaitika kwatiri. We are raising baby men who are not responsible, who are not accountable for their actions. As such, uyu mudzimai akuzongoita victim of an action yaitwa nemurume who is not responsible, who is refusing accountability for what they have done, and she's left in no space but other probably to dump the child." Because why would you have unprotected sex? Why would you come? I know, the after pill. Why didn't you take the after pill? But hello, it took the two of us. So we need to raise boys. We need to raise men that are accountable for their actions. To know that this act plus that act results in a child. And mwana is not even Glendah. Mungati mwana uirara, but marara anoda kuraswa in the proper place anofanira kuraswa. So even men are responsible for these actions that end up happening kumadzimai anopedzisira arasa vana.
Co-society isusa society, coach, because pane munhu ambotaura nawo yekuti shame chaiyo kuti mumuri munharaunda vanhu vachati kudii. Tiri kufanirwa kuita conversation yekuti Martin
chishuviro changu inini is kuti society yedu iri kufanira kudzidziswa not to judge, because we are too judgmental. We always take matters into our own hands to say kuti pazera rake iroro angataura kuti arepwa, pazera rake iroro nemapfekero anoita angataura kuti anofunga kuti angatadze kurepwa here. We need to be taught that there are other circumstances anenge ari so beyond a person anozomuleader into a certain situation. We need to also start teaching. Let it be part of kuchikoro chaiko kuti vanhu ngavadzidziswe that there are circumstances ekuti munhu anenge achitoedzawo kutoti zvimuitire zvakanaka, but they end up in a predicament that they didn't choose.
Yeah, true.
At least, you know, we even have on the rise my issues. Witchcraft. People are doing this for witchcraft purposes. At one time, I remember we had issues of young girls being sexually abused by men or it's for HIV healing. So imagine HIV. Before you know it, this child is pregnant. And you can never talk about it. So what do you think this child will do? They'll just dump this baby and be gone.
Yeah, so society what's your role? What are you
Can I also do it? Just because you haven't been caught, it doesn't make you any cleaner. As a society, we are responsible for embracing people vanenge vapinda masituations ekuti haanawo zvaanokwanisa kuita. Let's embrace them. And even, do you know, when we embrace people like that, zvinogona kutobatsira kuti munhu asasvike pastage yekurasa mwana.
We need a wholesome conversation around this, and I think it's important that we're having this conversation tionesane patinenge tichipotsa tichigadzirisa. Hanzi nemumwe panapa, hi Chira, good evening coach. Kunge yemukadzi wekudomboshava akakanda mwana wanga abva kubereka. Hanzi mugomba, hanzi akakanda mwana waye wanga abva kubereka mugomba kwakumupisa zvorwadza. Hanzi ana baba vacho vane mhosvawo ipapo yekuramba nhumbu. Mukadzi anobva aona kunge nyika yatoguma. We've heard as well vaye vanotambira patouchline coach vanobva vatoona basa richazotofambika asi anenge amutakura 9 months obva atirega ndidi. Yeah.
Touchline vakatoti one day if you get a time to go and speak to them, they will tell you that these things do take place. They will tell you that. Sidanongosiya zvake anotosununguka ongoti achibuda muhospitari semunhu ari kuenda kubathroom because ari kuti ndozoita sei, don't pay. And patime yeshe anenge ndichinesa ndichidi I can't be getting money.
I remember imwe year kugweru uko pane hotera inozikanwa nowanhu wakawanda vanopinda mugweru. Kwai wakabva arasa mwana from the balcony. Zvakarwadza vazhinji kuti but why? So these things are happening. Let's talk on 0719100404. Who's to blame? What do we need to do as a country? What do we need to do as society? And I believe when someone keeps a pregnancy full term and gives birth and dumps, the society should take the most blame. To me, it says that lady was stereotyped and judged, never mind the circumstances that led to that pregnancy. We should rebuke their flaws, but forgive them and help them not to do worse by further dumping the baby. Munhu akaita pregnant out of wedlock, ngaapiwe counseling and support, at least for the sake of the unborn child. A lot of people are sexually immoral, yet they are on the forefront in condemning these young women. That's a contribution that's coming through from one of our listeners. Your thoughts before we get into another message?
That's so true. Like we're saying, Kuti, as a society, we are highly to blame for all these things that end up happening. Because chero takagara, vanhu munotonoti, mwana papa anenge asina kumira mushe. Mwana uyu anenge asina kumira mushe. And you know, it's easy to tell when mwana aita fall pregnant and the circumstances don't look right. But we also turn a blind eye. Tabva kudhara kwataiti mwana anokudzwa nenharaunda. We have just moved away from that and we're leaving people to suffer. And in their suffering, they end up making my decisions. Anozotisvitsa pakadai pekuti vana vakuraswa, vana vakupiswa, vana vakuitwa zvese zvese. Because we are no longer living as a community. We have now turned to me.
But here's the thing, Coach. It takes a whole village to raise a child. Zvaishanda kudhara. So kuti izvozvi mubereki haadi kutsiurwa mwana wake. Haadi kuti upindire munhau dzake. So people be like, each to their own. So I think maybe then that becomes a problem. Kuti takufanirwa pamwe kuti tidzokere kune zvataiita kuti nyangwe munhu mukuru waitsiura mwana. Tisave judgmental. Like somebody speaks about now counseling and support. Another thing, paganda redu iri rechitema muchandiregerera nokuti ndinoramba ndichidzoka ipapo kuti pane zvimwe zvinhu zvatinofunga kuti aiwaka postpartum depression vanhu vangani vanobara zvichingoita kwewewo zvazoshamisei kana kuti iyo nhau yokuti takuti zvakati wotsamwa wakubva wati ndakurasa mwana aika
Glendah, do you know, for some reason, postpartum depression has always been there.
Asi taisana taisina zita racho taingoti
but it's always been there. But tavandudzwa ngatichitenderai kuti tivandudzike toita zvinhu zvoita kuti nekuvandudzwa kwedu tigone kubatsirana.
All right, somebody says, hi, Mama G. I'm not exonerating men, but most women have babies to trap men. Then the man abandons her because he won't be ready for a child. Pamwe munhu anenge audza kuti bodo inini ndiri kutora chekudzivirira kuti ndisabate pamuviri asi arikuda kuroorwa. This man is not ready. And then obva ko izvi zvabva kupi azvo zvatakawirirana kaizvi. And then obva ona kuti yo zvaaramba ndochiita sei. Saka hanzi vamwe vakadziwo hunhu hwenyu coach.
Maybe macircumstances iwo hatingarambe nekuti ariko, but tiri kuti patasvika apa pane munhu aripo wechi3 pautu hwedu pane mumwe munhu wechi3. Why not be accountable? Take accountability because you were part of this deal. Zvimiririre because ndo patasvika, and be there to say kuti all right, patasvika apa, if you are going to leave this child in a space yekuti vamwe vachengetawo, do that. Encourage, encourage. Chai isusu hatigona kuchengeta mwana, ngatinomusiya even pahospital, ngatinomusiya even pahome. Don't just desert this woman kuti asare achisafa ari ega, because this is also your blood, and it will be being out for you saying kuti but makandiregerera.
Asi ko coach tikati kana musati maready kwababa namai kokungozvisiya avamwe vari kutrepawo zvavo vamwe
vatorati pamwe pacho vamwe vanenge vatrepwa okay, but kuti vanhu vacho havaudzike kuti we are not ready for this. Why not leave it? Or we are not ready kuti tike baba namai, let's have protected sex.
Ndauda kurogwa zvemutaura kuti kudii.
Manje pakuzotrepana kandi patiri kuzosvika pakadai apa. Patakuti all right, tatrepana, but be accountable to each other. Be responsible. Pane munhu ngapa.
True that. Somebody says, Glendah, the issue of baby dumping, of abandoning a child, rather, is a very harmful and potentially life-threatening act that can have severe physical, emotional, and psychological consequences for the child. It is never an acceptable solution to any problem or situation. Dumping a child can lead to infant physical harm or death, emotional trauma, and developmental delays or disabilities. However, Glendah, instead of dumping a child, there are alternative options available, such as safe haven laws, allowing parents to surrender newborns at designated locations, or counseling and mental health services, which allows a woman to get help before they think of dumping a child. This is Delisa coming through from Bahrain. Thank you so much for your contribution. Somebody even comes through, speaks about what they have, my baby bins, or any other such name.
I was going to come to that.
Talk to us about that.
I think also as a society, as in Africa, I'm yet to know about other African countries. Like for Zimbabwe, we need to start having my places. They must be able to go and leave the child without being questioned. I remember handling a situation of one lady that did not want the child. A local hospital called us. We went there. We spoke to the lady, and she said, I do not want the child. We said, okay, let's go to a place where we can leave this child, because I can't go there because I will be questioned. So let's get to a place where we understand.
Coach, tisa question, why don't you want this child? I mean,
through counseling, Glendah, you will realize that a certain stage of woman can actually deliver. I mean, they're actually a bit fragile. So even when they are ready to talk about it, they must be allowed to come back and say, I'm ready to talk about it, I need help. Or even through counseling, they'll realize that this person needs help, yakadai, to do this. They must be allowed to do that. As a community, as a society, we need to start building up places like that, where we understand could women go through postnatal depression. And until and unless they are ready, we are wasting time, because and like she was saying, and it is a question of what do they go and do? They'll just go and dump this child. And allow me to say this. This lady went to Akanogara, somewhere in town, found those heavy bins. And I was so scared that she would dump that child in my bins also. And remember, say it took so much time to be able to help that woman to Tora Manawea. Later on, she was like, I think I'm ready.
Wow. And I also love the work that you're also doing. Maybe as well, to set up heads, I would love for you to share your social media pages for those that don't know some of the amazing work that you're doing. and
Thank you
respect
so much,
to you for doing the most out there and making a difference. And evening coach, asi isu vemu society tinozonyanyawo pachinambo chekuti tidzoreredze mwana tinenge tava kumushoropodza iye wacho anobva arasa mwana then ozviuraya futi zvinhu zvacho zviri kurwadza.
That's another instance here, you know, the Itikayo. But I know Rasa Obaj Uraya, lost 2 lives. That gonna save even one, it would have been better. But why even one? Let's save both lives. Because we don't know, that's the future president, that's the future highly profile person in our country. So let's also get to a stage where we build my space happens. Iwayo, vana vachienda vachinosiwa, akuva kuti handisi kukwanisa vana voenda vosiwa. And like I'm saying, Kuti, the issue is on questioning. When we start questioning munhu achiri in a very tender space, then we also lose it.
Aiwa, pakanaka coach. Ndikupanzwa. And Chera, you're right. These days, people may not even permit society to rebuke their children fair and fine. But I'm sure they can report to social workers or even police through suggestion boxes. Let's start taking action to help, even when it's not convenient. The Bible says, Babakota, James 4, verse 17, and unto you, therefore to him who knows to do good and does not do it, to him it is a sin. So yeah, that is a contribution that has come through here. Maybe so kuti nguva dzedu dzakwikwidzana nesu zvizhinji. Mashoko mamwe amungada kutiudza coach ndeapi tisati tapeta chirongwa?
Ngatitambe takabatira pakuti it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village kuti tirwisane nedambudziko ratinaro. Tikati hameno ndezvekwaimaningi. Before you know it, before you wink, you have the same issue in your own backyard. Makushodaidzwa kunzi mainingi pane muzukuru wenyu anhongwa uko. So let's be wise. Tizive kuti dambudziko rikawira ningi mangwana rinogona kundiwira, and be able to stand with each other. We need to also get to a stage where we stop judging. Kuti ungamitiswa, ungarepwa zvezvauri. We need to get to that stage. Let's not judge, but be there to help. Be there to be that shoulder that somebody can come to and get the help that they need.
Aiwa tinotenda. There's a voice note that I wanted to get to. Hopefully we'll be able to get to it before we shut down. Tinzwe muono wavo. Shagara, I see them typing, so maybe you might need to type a bit faster there because we're about to shut it down. Let's hear what they had to say.
Sensitive, but I think such things like this, I think they should be like the same way at Noitama national IDs. Everyone should be checked with blood samples on the ID so that if there is a dumping of a baby, then they can even check the blood samples and just run in the system and it picks up the person and got dumping one. If we have that, I think it will solve the problem.
All right, your thoughts quickly on this one?
Well, that's a very powerful suggestion. But also remember, kuzodampa ndeko kuti handisina kuzikana. Saka tikazenge futi tine blood samples tamubata, hoping zvinotiitira zviri nani hazvizokonzerese worse problems.
Hanzi inyaya yekuwanza wekufambidzana nawo vamwe vanozoshaya kuti baba chaivo ndiani. Sababva vatirege tingovasiya paya. But yeah, maybe a very, very sensitive issue that we wanted to tackle tonight here. Tatingoti tionesane try kuona kuti dambudziko riri kubva nepapi. Maybe the impact on society itself and maybe possible solutions that we were trying to proffer tonight. And ndinoimba kuti tingasira now yacho ipo pai. I think it's a safe place for us to leave it. But maybe your parting shots and how people can link up with you on socials.
Okay, thank you so much. I hope this was of help to somebody who was even contemplating to go and dump a baby somewhere. Just probably dump them in a safe space. Find a safe haven and dump that child. All my socials is Patience M. Muparuta Chigwida on all my socials. Patience M. Muparuta Chigwida. And you can get me on 0785 956. 0785 472 956.
Nice one, thank you. Mataure, nekuti kana wangori kufunga pfungwa idzi chingotsvaga a safe place. The word dump for me then becomes a bit hectic because...
yeah, it's easy.
Yeah, true. But thank you so much, Coach, for your time, and we're looking forward to linking up with you next week, same time.
Thank you so much, Tara.